It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 9 of The Walking Dead. This is going to be my review for Season 9, Episode 10 of The Walking Dead, called Omega. Now I'm going to do this review a little bit differently, and maybe future ones as well. Now I've noticed that a lot of people don't necessarily like my longer reviews, so what I'm going to try to do is keep this review less than 5 minutes and just hit the main points. And then if there's anything that I need to talk about in addition to that, I will discuss that during live streams, or maybe even just doing standalone videos on them. Now, if you do like this new structure of reviews less than 5 minutes, I want you to press the like button, so that way I know how many of you like this new structure. If you like the longer reviews, like the 10-12 minute reviews, make sure to comment down below and let me know. That way I'll have a better idea of which of these two ways you guys enjoy most, and I'll change the structure of the reviews accordingly. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into this. Overall, I actually really enjoyed this episode. Even though it was a slow episode, you could even say that it was a bottle episode because it primarily featured Hilltop. With that said, I still enjoyed this episode for what it was, and I thought it was a solid episode, much like the previous episode. It didn't blow my mind, it didn't have anything special other than the ending, of course, but it didn't have anything to blow me away. But at the same time, it was still a pretty solid episode. Starting up with Lydia opening up to Henry. Now, I thought that was done very well, and I really enjoyed that part, even though it was definitely slow. But I thought that it was important for the story to showcase the connection of Lydia and Henry, to build up what they're gonna build up for the future, which is obviously based on the fact that they're remixing Carl's comic story arc in the TV show and giving it to Henry. But I thought that it was done well. Even though it was slow, it was done well. Now, getting into the part where Lydia reveals her past and we get this Alpha flashback, or you could even say it was a backstory for the Whisperers. Now, if you have watched the channel before, you knew that I wasn't too sure about these flashbacks when we knew that we were going to get flashbacks, because I didn't think that flashbacks would really work for a group like the Whisperers, especially for Alpha. But the way they did it, I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought that it worked. Because not only did they not try to humanize the Whisperers, and Alpha specifically, like I thought they were gonna do, but they actually gave us a surprise. The way it was done was very well, because we actually saw the backstory through Lydia's memories. And because of that, it was a little chopped up, which made it a bit more interesting. And also, because of how chopped up it was, and because it was mixing reality with what Alpha was actually feeding Lydia as the truth, it actually made it more interesting and exciting to see. So what we actually essentially saw was an opposite. So the start, where we have Alpha being a good mother, was actually not the case. It was the opposite. The father, Frank, was actually the good father, and Alpha was the crazy one. So I absolutely loved how they reversed that and gave us the opposite of the truth and kind of revealed the truth near the end of the episode. And I absolutely enjoyed that. And I thought that the backstory for Alpha was one of the highlights of this episode, and I thought it was done very well. Now, getting into the point where Alpha kills Frank, I saw that coming, but at the same time, because of what they did, giving us the reverse first, it actually kind of made me question my own kind of predictions, because then I wasn't too sure until I actually saw them reveal the truth. So that was very well done as well. Now, getting into the part with the domestic abuse and connecting Daryl's past and Lydia's past, I thought that was done very well. I thought that they used something that was already there in the story, which was Daryl's past, and they looked at what was coming in terms of Lydia's story and her past, and they made a very good and clear connection, and they basically brought those two stories together in a way that we didn't necessarily think about before the episode. So I thought that was done pretty well as well. I'm not sure if we're gonna get more flashbacks or more depth into Lydia's past or maybe Alpha's past. I don't think it's necessary because they gave us just enough. Maybe we do need to see a bit more with Lydia, but maybe not necessarily going back that far into her past. Maybe we could see a bit more flashbacks Alpha and Lydia when they became Whispers. But I thought that the flashbacks were done well, but I just don't think that we need to see more of those types of flashbacks. Even though I do think we do need some more types of flashbacks, but maybe not that far out into the past. Then going into Magna's group, finding the horses, and then sneaking out at night. Now the first part, which is them finding the horses and Tara making the decision for them to go back because they don't know what they're dealing with, I absolutely love that. From Tara making a rational and smart decision to the tension between Magna's group and Tara. I absolutely love that. Now, with that said, the second part, which is Magna's group actually going out at night trying to look for Luke and Alden, I thought that was forced. I didn't see that being real, you know what I mean? It was like they forced these characters to do things they wouldn't necessarily do. For one, they know what the Whisperers are capable of, and they've seen the danger of being out there during the day even. So I don't see how it makes sense for those characters to make that decision to go out at night. I understand that they want to find Luke and Alden, but at the same time, it just felt a little forced. And to add to that, Yumiko changed her mind right away when she saw them being surrounded by the walkers. So something felt a bit off in that specific scene. So I thought that was a little forced. But other than that, the first part I absolutely loved. Now I know that them going out at night served two purposes. One, for us to get a backstory on Magna's group a little bit. And two, was to kind of show that Tara is in charge. And also the scene where we have Tara and Yumiko talking about Yumiko and Magna's group leaving. So it only served these two purposes. But other than that, it felt a little forced. The next thing I want to talk about is Henry and Lydia's connection. I absolutely love how they remix the comic story in a way that makes sense. For one, we know that Henry and Lydia are going to have a bond. They're going to have a connection because Henry's taking on Carl's comic story and Carl and Lydia had a connection in the comics. Now, what I love is that they didn't just replicate that story from the comics verbatim. They changed it and made it make sense. For example, the part where we have Lydia eating the worms. It was more realistic that way. In the comics, it was a bit comical because we had Lydia licking Carl's eye socket, which is pretty disgusting, I know. But that wouldn't necessarily work in the TV show, even if Carl was alive at this point. So I absolutely love that they remixed that in a way that makes sense. And it's not the only one. There's a couple more scenes like that. But I absolutely love that they remixed the story for those two in a way that makes sense for the TV show and is realistic. Last, we have Alpha and the Whisperers showing up at the hilltop, and basically we have the introduction of Alpha in a way. Now I absolutely loved that scene and I thought that it was done phenomenally. I think that Samantha Morton knocked it out of the park as Alpha, even in the few minutes that she was in this episode. Of course, meaning the last part where she's actually Alpha. I absolutely loved that, and I thought that was the highlight of this episode. I absolutely loved it. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more of Alpha in the next episode. Now, if you are interested, I do talk more in detail about Alpha's introduction, specifically looking at the sneak peeks and the trailer for the next episode. The video is on the channel. You can go and check it out. But other than that, that's basically the entire episode. Now, like I said, this was a strong episode. It had some key highlights, but it was a slow episode with a great ending. Now, with that said, the last episode definitely did build up the next episode in a great, great way. But that's basically my review of this episode. Again, if you like these shorter reviews, make sure to press like. And if you want the longer reviews, make sure to comment down below. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads. And while you're at it, check out my gaming channel, Jedi Age Gaming.